Hey everyone, welcome to Reality TV News Update, the place where we bring you the latest updates, fun moments, and behind-the-scenes stories you won't want to miss. Weeks after the explosive finale of Big Brother 27, Vince sat alone in his living room, staring at a brown box marked with the familiar CBS logo. Inside was his long-awaited BB Care package, photos, letters, and mementos from a game that changed him forever. But what began as a touching reunion with memories quickly turned into a raw and emotional reckoning that fans never expected. When Vince finally opened the box, he wasn't prepared for the wave of emotions that hit him. Inside were handwritten letters from his younger sister, his mother, and even one from a childhood friend he hadn't spoken to in years. At the bottom of the box sat his BB27 memory book, every head of household result, every veto win, every eviction vote he cast. That's when the regret began to settle in, because one name kept appearing next to the most pivotal moments of his game: Morgan. Vince had entered BB27 as a strategic powerhouse, calculated, socially sharp, and physically capable. Early on, fans labeled him a frontrunner. He won 2 competitions in the first 3 weeks, formed tight bonds on both sides of the house, and positioned himself perfectly between the dominant alliance and the floaters. But everything changed the night he chose Morgan over the game. The alliance that was never meant to be. Morgan and Vince's relationship began as a simple strategic partnership, 2 smart players recognizing value in each other. They were never supposed to get emotionally attached, but long nights in the backyard, whispered conversations in the have-not room, and surviving back-to-back eviction scares together changed that. By week 5, the house noticed their connection. By week 6, it became a liability. Vince had information that could have dismantled the strongest alliance in the game. He knew who controlled the votes, who flipped first, and exactly when the backdoor plan was coming. The move would have guaranteed his spot in the Final Four, but Morgan begged him not to expose it. She was aligned with that same power structure, loosely, but enough to make her vulnerable. Vince hesitated. For the first time in the game, he chose emotion over execution. That week, he stayed quiet, and the alliance stayed intact. 3 weeks later, Vince was out the door. The moment it all collapsed. Fast forward to the night of his eviction, Vince sat on the block beside a weaker competitor. The house was split. All signs pointed to a tie vote, until Morgan flipped. Publicly, she claimed it was strategy. Privately, Vince later discovered it was fear. She believed he would beat her in the final 2. The vote wasn't close. He was blindsided. While hugging the house guests, he avoided Morgan's eyes. He already knew. The betrayal wasn't loud, it was quiet and precise, the kind that cuts deeper. And now, staring at his memory book from the care package, he finally allowed himself to say what he'd been holding in since finale night. Choosing Morgan over that move, that's what cost me the game. The regret that won't let go. Vince admitted that he replayed that decision every night after he left the house. The moment when he could have turned on the alliance, the moment where fans screamed at the television for him to take the shot, the moment that would have changed everything. Had he made that move, he believes he would have walked into finale night with at least 3 guaranteed jury votes. Instead, he arrived as a juror with a single bitter vote and a front row seat to watch someone else collect the prize he once had in his grasp. What haunts him most isn't just the loss, it's the why. He admitted that, "I didn't lose because I got outplayed. I lost because I got emotionally compromised." The hardest part? Morgan never apologized. Where Vince and Morgan stand now. Since the finale, fans have desperately wanted to know, are Vince and Morgan even speaking? The answer is complicated. They exchanged a few brief messages after finale night. Polite, guarded, no real closure. Vince congratulated her for making it deep. Morgan replied with a short, "Thank you." And that was it. No conversation about the flip, no acknowledgement of the personal damage. Vince hasn't seen her in person since. He admits he doesn't know if that hurts more than the betrayal itself. The care package letter that broke him. At the bottom of the care package was a letter from his sister. It mentioned watching him struggle with his decision and seeing his confidence fade inside the house. One line destroyed him. "You played with your heart, but sometimes your heart doesn't want to win." That line made him cry for the first time since the finale, because it confirmed what Eddie, the jury, and the fan base had been saying all along. He didn't lose because he failed. He lost because he chose. Fan reaction: divided, furious, emotional. The moment Vince spoke publicly about his regret, reaction across social media exploded. Some fans felt vindicated. Others felt heartbroken for him. Many turned their anger toward Morgan, accusing her of manipulation, emotional gameplay, and using Vince as a shield until she no longer needed him. But a smaller group defended her. This is Big Brother, not a dating show. But the majority agreed on one thing. Vince would have won BB27 if he made that one move. Did Morgan ever truly care? That question lingers. Vince won't accuse her directly, he still protects her in the way only betrayed people do, but his hesitation to fully defend her now speaks volumes. He admits their bond felt real inside the house, but outside the house, it feels like it evaporated the moment she won safety over loyalty. That realization weighs on him more than the money. The price of playing with your heart. Vince left Big Brother with no prize money, no official title, and no relationship to show for it. But he left with something heavier, a decision that will follow him forever. He doesn't regret trusting people. He regrets when he trusted. He regrets choosing love in a game built for betrayal. And most of all, he regrets not trusting himself when the house handed him the perfect moment to strike. What comes next for Vince? Despite everything, Vince isn't bitter. He's reflective. He's wiser. He's already been approached for reality competitions, charity games, and media projects. Fans still adore him. His popularity skyrocketed after his emotional confession. But he knows one truth will always follow him. He was the player who could have won and chose not to. The final truth. As he sealed the care package back into its box, he paused on the final page of his memory book, his eviction night. Next to the vote count, someone had written in red ink, "What if?" It's a question he may never fully escape, because in BB27, Vince didn't lose to a stronger competitor. He lost to his heart. And Morgan, whether by intention or circumstance, was the final piece
Weeks
that
after the
tipped
Big
the
Brother
scale.
27 finale left fans divided and emotional, Vince finally received the one package he had been both waiting for and dreading, his official BB Care package. Inside were reminders of every triumph, every mistake, and every relationship that defined his time in the house. What started as a moment of nostalgia quickly became a powerful emotional reckoning, one that led Vince to finally reveal his biggest game regret and the role Morgan played in it. Sitting alone in his apartment, the box unopened for several minutes, Vince admitted he already knew what waited inside. Photos, letters, competition memorabilia, and the memories he hadn't been able to outrun since his eviction. When he finally broke the seal and lifted the lid, it felt like reopening a part of himself he hadn't fully processed. At the top were letters from family, his mother, his sister, and his best friend. Each message was filled with pride, love, and heartbreak as they described watching him grow, fight, and ultimately fall just short of the end. But buried at the bottom of the box was the item that changed everything, his BB27 memory book. A record of every vote, every alliance shift, every decision that led to the finale he never reached. And one decision haunted almost every page: choosing Morgan. The partnership that changed the game. From the early weeks of BB27, Vince and Morgan were inseparable. What began as a strategic alignment quickly grew into one of the most talked-about relationships of the season. They trusted each other with information no one else had. They protected each other when the house turned ugly, and for a while, it looked like they were building a path straight to the final two. Fans loved them. But strategy doesn't care about chemistry. By the midpoint of the season, Vince had positioned himself perfectly in the game. He sat in the center of the house with influence on both sides, trusted by the majority alliance and secretly connected to the outsiders. Then came the turning point. Vince discovered a plan to preserve the dominant alliance by backdooring one of the strongest competitors, someone who stood directly in his way. It was the kill shot. If he exposed it, the house would explode. Power would shift, and Vince would almost certainly become the favorite to win BB27. But Morgan was connected to that alliance. If Vince made the move, she would go down with it. She asked him not to. And in one moment of hesitation, Vince chose loyalty over legacy. He stayed silent. The target went home, and the alliance survived. The blind side that ended everything. 3 weeks later, Vince found himself on the block next to a weaker pawn. He felt safe. Too safe. All signs pointed to a tie vote, until the house flipped overnight. The deciding vote belonged to Morgan. She didn't warn him. She didn't look at him before voting. And when the votes were read, Vince realized he had been betrayed by the very person he sacrificed his winning move for. His eviction wasn't loud or dramatic. It was cold, precise, final. And now, weeks later, holding the proof in his hands through the care package, Vince finally spoke the truth aloud. That was the moment I lost the game, when I chose Morgan over the move. The regret that follows him everywhere. Vince admitted that he replays that decision almost daily, not because fans remind him, though they do, but because his own instincts warned him in that moment. He knew the strike was necessary, he knew the timing was perfect. But he froze. He stopped being a player and started being a protector. And Big Brother doesn't reward protectors. That single moment changed the entire course of his game. Instead of walking into finale night as a front-runner, he watched the end from the jury bench, forced to vote for a winner he once believed would be him. What hurts most, he admits, is knowing that the jury perception shifted instantly after his eviction. Once he left, the dominant alliance never fractured. Competition wins became predictable. There were fewer risks, safer paths. Without Vince, the game lost its disruptor, and he lost his chance. Where things stand with Morgan now. The relationship fans obsessed over did not survive the outside world. Vince and Morgan exchanged only a few brief messages after the finale. Formal, distant, careful. There was no deep conversation about the flip, no emotional apology, no real closure. And that absence speaks louder than any words could. I think inside the house everything feels permanent. Outside the house, it ended instantly, Vince admitted. He doesn't claim Morgan never cared, but he now believes she chose fear over loyalty, the exact choice he once made for her. The letter that broke him. Among all the items in the care package, one letter shattered him the most. It was from his sister. She praised his strength, his kindness, his courage, but the final line cut through everything. You played with your heart, but the game only rewards your head. That was the moment Vince finally let himself cry. Because it wasn't just advice, it was the truth he'd spent weeks trying to outrun. Fan reaction. Heartbreak, anger, and what if. Once Vince publicly admitted his regret, the fan base erupted. Some fans felt devastated for him. Others turned their frustration toward Morgan, and many repeated the same sentence again and again. Vince would have won BB27 if he made that move. The what if became a season-defining question. Did Morgan cost him the win? Vince never places full blame on Morgan. He owns the decision. He made the choice. But he does believe that his emotional connection to her directly influenced the move that ended his championship path. I don't regret caring about her. I regret letting that overwrite the game I came to play. What's next for Vince? Despite the heartbreak, he's not bitter. He's reflective. He's already been approached for future competition shows, fan events, and charity tournaments. His vulnerability made fans love him even more, and his legacy is secure. Not as a villain, not as a quitter, but as the player who almost won and knew exactly why he didn't. The final page of BB27. As Vince placed the care package back into the box, his eyes lingered on the final page of the memory book, his eviction vote. Beside it was a handwritten note. One move, one choice, one different ending. And in that quiet moment, Vince finally accepted the truth. He didn't lose BB27 because he was weak. He lost because he was human. And sometimes, in Big Brother, that costs you everything.